Okay, so the second minor would be in a C shape, but we consider the half diminished in a A minus shape. All right, so that's the chord to play. All right, and the subject of the previous two lessons, although on YouTube I missed a lesson there, I'm going to be re-uploading that today later. So it got jumbled, the order of the lessons. But I did cover that in detail, how we go up the pentatonic scale from the cage shape. So in the G box, all right, we're still going up a pentatonic scale in the key of C. All right, so the G box, the second of G, the second of whatever key you're in, the second minor, from the G position of anything, any G position that you're in, okay? In this case, it would be C, the G position. Okay, this big long chord here. Anytime you're in that G position, the second minor of that G major position is going up a pentatonic scale, is going to be an A minor shape. So it'd be, all right. Okay, it's going to be an A minor shape on the guitar. It doesn't matter what shape. I haven't matched the shapes on piano yet, note for note. But there's a lot of repeat on the guitar, so that'd be kind of redundant sometimes. So we're moving right along here, and we have the G shape. We're going to do the half diminished shapes in the G shape. Here I've kind of cropped them out, and we've got this 7 4 6 2. We've got 6 2 4 7. That seems to be a decent chord. In the G box, remember, in the G box, if you're going to do a diatonic, the 7th is out of the pentatonic cage. So on the regular fret nut with the G-shaped chord, you can't get this 7 that's down here below the fret nut. But you could do a pentatonic. All right. So in the G box, if we bar the 6th here, you've got to do this 4 7 2 thing. It looks like a kind of a triangle, and maybe you could get both of those, you know. That sounds good anyway, right? Okay, well, that's just the 6th. So remember, we added the 6th has a half diminished 7th chord, but without it, we've still got a pretty good. Okay, and remember the G shape was. All right, so that's the one to use for sure in the G box. Is this backwards D-shaped chord there? So I've kind of like scoped them out, and you know, remember where they came from, right? Remember where they came from. Over here in the G box proper. All right, the G-shaped root chord is root 3 5 root up here, and we're going to talk about this if we ever get off this chart. We'll keep doing lessons until we get to the next couple of charts, where I'm going to cover these triads and treat a major triad, root 3 5 root, as a pattern. So we're going to have a major triad pattern. We're going to have a new pattern stack, a new building block that's going to be super useful, because all you have to do is adjust from that building block to do the minor. So that covers 6 out of 7 of the scale shapes as far as triads are concerned. And when we drop the root here and the third to here and the fifth to here, we bring the fourth over here in the G box. Okay, so we got root 3, 5, root. Then we've got something like 3, 5, root. We want to bring around the 7. Okay, so but how do we get to these guys is the question. Well, these are also affected by the warp. So we've got two factors in phrasing or choosing which notes in a caged position for the half diminished. And you can use it on the you can use that concept on the minors and majors to some extent, but it's not as necessary, and everybody knows where the regular chords are anyway. So the problem is with the half diminished. There's two factors. There's one is that just dropping each scale degree of the major triad takes that cage and extends it down. So you got to be like you got to be like Leroy Kelly to be able to like make those kind of chords, right? So we bring those back over on the string underneath, bring them back into the cage from one string underneath, and the other factor is the warp. All right, so when you have the warp, bringing notes into the picture here. So that's how we get the different shapes. And I was up there, but we have to move along. So this is what you get when you bring these things back in, and these guys are warping in. These are warping into the picture. Now, when I'm talking about this new pattern stack that I've got on a couple of charts ahead of this, you're just going to simply warp this pattern, and it's going to warp right into those cage shapes. And I have a special chart that I made just yesterday and the day before for that. We'll be looking specifically at how the warp affects triad notes, note for note. And also for unwarped, the first 4 strings, we're going to watch how those triads behave in each cage. So moving over to the A cage here, we've got, the G, we finish up with the 7, 4, 2, 6, or the 6, 2, 4, 7. Those are, how you kind of phrase a half diminished chord from that cage. So you can do the modal all the way up, all 7 within a cage. Following the system of going up a pentatonic scale as you ascend up that modal scale. When you get to the half diminished, it's considered the same letter name as the cage position name, C, A, G, E, or D, but minus. So, now remember, when we just drop note for note, it goes out of the cage, so we got to bring those notes back in, and the warp brings some notes back in up around this region. And in the E shape, we've got this guy's really good. So in the E cage, okay, in the E cage for C with me, it'd be up here. This is the same place where your C is, way up here by the meat of the guitar. All right, and then you have this 7 and these 3 guys here. Okay, so it's, and then, okay, so it's just a phrasing. There's nothing to, there's nothing up my sleeve. This is where the notes fall. These two are, you see how it looks like a stack of 3? What's going on with that? I don't see a stack of 3 over here. Okay, I see a stack of 3 over here, but that's because these two cage positions are adjacent to one another and they actually share the same exact notes. But I don't see a stack of 3 anywhere else. That's because everything in the guitar in every cage is